Before I begin today's video, I just want to give a big shout out to my newest patrons, Ricardo Pizarro and Emmanuel Abate. Thank you both for joining the patron family and for further supporting me here on the channel and everything that I do. I hope that you enjoy the exclusive content and rewards that we have over here on Patreon. And if you guys are interested in further supporting the channel, the link will be in the description below. You'll get access to a lot of exclusive videos not found here on the channel, as well as some other awesome rewards. With all that being said, let's get into today. What's going on, you guys? Slim here to bring you guys the video you've been waiting for, the super in-depth hand trap guide for this current format. If you guys are new here, consider subscribing, hit that notification bell. You guys will be notified whenever I upload. You guys will be notified when I stream over on Twitch. Link is in the description. As always, if you want to purchase any of these cards, and you probably should because everyone needs hand traps in Yu-Gi-Oh!, please use my TCG player link in the description below. A portion of what you spend goes back to the channel. It helps me out, and I really do appreciate it. And last but not least, if you guys want to further support the channel, consider joining my Patreon. 4 different levels, nothing over $10, really great reward, and just some awesome stuff for you guys, exclusive videos over there, so definitely check it out, links in the description. One last thing before I begin today's video, I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Yishan. You guys already know the Grand Maju God. We literally worked on the Grand Maju deck, the castle deck together. I'm sure you guys saw this video. He was kind enough to send me this custom mat that he had made. Now this is absolutely beautiful. We have the almighty Grand Maju with a bunch of cards that are famous in the deck, the stun builds. You can see Inspector Border, Eater of Millions, Pot of Desires, Gizmek, there's Thunderbird over there, Super Poly, Gold Sark, Necroface in the back, and all the multiplications of 400 for our boy Grand Maju. I just want to thank him so much. If you guys do want to get this mat yourself, he is selling them. All you guys have to do is message him. I'll put a link down below. I'll see if I can get one from him, and then you guys can definitely get it. But I just wanted to say thank you to him. I really do appreciate it. Now, this is going to be a crazy video, you guys. We got a lot to talk about. Now, before I begin, there are some hand traps you're not going to see here. Now, here's the reasons why. Either A, they're not being used currently in the meta at all, like I haven't seen them at all, or B, your boy doesn't own them. So, little from column A, little from column B, but nonetheless, I'm going to start with things like Moonlight Chill, Ghost Bell, Skullmeister, and I'm going to put Token Collector as well. Now, before I begin, I don't have any Token Collectors on me. I got rid of them a while ago. That was kind of a dumb mistake. Don't get rid of your hand traps, you guys. You never know when they're going to come back. But I'm going to say it right now. Token Collector, amazing card. Absolutely amazing card. I'll have it here up on the screen. This card is fantastic against any kind of token strategy. Any deck that uses Linkross or Auroradon or anything like that, you use this bad boy, you're going to completely just give them a hard time. I think this card is amazing. One of the best hand traps you can use against these decks. So powerful. The fact that it can come from, your hand, or I believe it can also come from the graveyard, is crazy. The card is amazing against Infernoble, amazing against Dragon Link, or any combo deck that likes to abuse tokens. But other than that, I just wanted to get those out of the way since I actually don't have those cards at my disposal, but the other ones are just not used. Like, they're just not used. I don't see them anywhere in the format. It's kind of a shame. I mean, there probably will be a time where Bell and Moonlight Chill and all those cards are good again, but right now I just don't see it in our current meta. But we're going to start with hand traps that might see play. You might have them yourself. I believe they've all been reprinted, maybe outside of Shifter, but Shifter's like $1, so it's kind of like whatever. But we're going to have No Material, Ghost Reaper, and Winter Cherries, as well as the already mentioned Dimension Shifter. So I'm going to keep this very short with some of these cards. I'm going to start with Shifter. Shifter, this card is insane. This card can literally end the opponent's turn. However, very, very few decks can use this card. Grand Maju, of course, for the mat, can use this. It's actually ridiculous. This is the deck that probably plays this card the best, and also Pure Thunder at a time was able to use this. Obviously, this card literally just is a Macrocosmos, but you have to draw it going first or second, and you literally have to drop it on your opponent to just shut off their turn. But it is a Macrocosmos. Everything gets banished, and it's pretty insane. So this card, if your deck can support it, definitely play it. I believe the best deck right now to play it probably is the Grand Maju Castle deck, but I'm sure there's some other decks that you guys can mention that probably could abuse this card completely. But yeah, this card can literally end an opponent's turn, so this card not without its charm. Pick them up. They're only $1, like literally. Now, No Material and Ghost Reaper Winter Cherries. Both of these cards have seen play in different formats, but currently right now we really don't see them. I did see some known materials in one side deck at one of the LCSs, not the current one, but the previous one. This card is not without its charm. It definitely can hinder plays if you know when to drop it. Being able to lock your opponent into that monster and then they can't further their plays is amazing. There have been more better options that players have used, but definitely don't sleep on this card. I think this is a card you guys should definitely pick up. I know I have originals. They definitely were reprinted and they're very, very cheap, so pick them up as well. You just never know when this card could come in handy. Now, Winter Cherries, I mean, it comes in and out of formats. It's just not that popular right now. When Firewall was all the rage, like obviously you had to have this and then have Firewall in your extra deck somewhere. Now, granted, you could argue, okay, well, against Infernoble Knights, I'm just gonna, Ghost Reaper the Isolde. Against Dragon Link, I guess I'll hit the Striker Dragon, or I'll hit the Borreload Savage. You can name as many cards as you want. The fact of the matter is that, yes, this is a good card for those current situations. It's if your deck can support it, number one. And number two, if you're able to support the extra deck space. That's the only problem with this card, is that you have to dedicate so many extra deck spots if you're trying to hit certain decks in the format. If it was a one deck format, this card would probably be crazy. I know Burning Abyss was an example of that, where you played Winter Cherries to just get rid of the Dante. But I think these cards will definitely have another time to shine. It may just not be right now, but don't sleep on these cards. I think these are cards that could potentially be used again in another format, but they're just good to have in general. Now, we're going to get into one of my personal favorites. This used to be a staple in all of my decks. You guys already know this. Triple Phantasme, just Phantasme. You guys already know. Again, reprinted. Use the TCG player link, you guys. This card is dirt cheap. Like, you don't have to have the originals. I just had this card for a very long time. Now, this card is weird because I think it's just amazing, like, all the time, and that's just me. Maybe I'm biased because I just really like this card. However, I think what I really like about it is that Dragon Link is everywhere. Infernoble Knight is everywhere. You can drop this whenever they link summon. These decks are always link summoning, so you can always A, get a body on board, and B, draw cards and fix your hand. The problem is there's just better hand traps that are more effective in this format, and that is the problem. That's why people cannot dedicate the space to Phantasme. However, I even saw some of the side decks for some of the players that top the LCS, and guess what? I saw Phantasme in there. That's pretty crazy. That means that this card could potentially make a comeback. It's definitely a card you should have at your disposal. It's had multiple reprints, so the card is a lot cheaper to get than it used to be. I think any card that not only generates advantage and card advantage and also puts a body on board is fantastic. We played this in the Grand Maju deck, Yishan and I, also because it just brings the whole deck together. It lets you draw cards, put a body, and defend yourself against any of these linked decks. So it definitely is a good option to have. It's just maybe not as popular, but I'm not gonna lie, when I saw Paulo have it in his side deck, it kind of spoke to me that, hey, maybe there's more to this card than meets the eye of this current format. So, go to your testing and you'll see exactly what I mean. Next, I have probably one of the most impactful hand traps this format, and that is Lancia. Shout out to my boy Pete. I finally got hollows. I know I've had commons for like the longest time, but we finally got there. This card is amazing. This card hurts Dino to Kingdom Come, and let's face it, Dino's easily in the top 3 best decks. It's not even close. It just won the LCS. All 3 decks were Dino. This card turns off Miscellaneous Source. It turns off the Pill. It turns off any of the banishing effects. This card is insane. It completely destroys Invoked. When you go Invocation, they chain Lancia. You can't banish anything. You just get no play. This card is amazing. I think this card will continue to be a staple in the format. I even saw, as far as some of the Dragon Link decks, main decking 1 copy, which just blew my mind. I never thought I'd see this card in the main deck, but it's definitely a card you guys should have. It's also really good against Dragon Link. It's good against any deck that would banish. And you can also combo this if you're playing the Artifact Scythe and Artifact Sanctums and Trap Tricks in your side deck somewhere, or even in your main deck, depending on what the deck is, and you'll get extra mileage out of this card. This card is absolutely amazing, and it is a staple card that all you guys should have. It's so good, this format, against all the main decks. Like, it's just good against everything. Like, it really is just good against everything. It can even be good against rogue decks, same with Phantasme, so gotta mention it. Lancia, just a fantastic card. It's definitely one of the cards I have in most of my side decks. Next, I'm moving on to another pretty much staple, Impermanence. It's the only one that's actually a spell or trap, an actual real hand trap, quote unquote. What can I say? This is one of the best cards in the game. You draw it as your 6th card, it's live. You draw it going first, it's live. You can set it going first, it's a trap, and it can negate back row as well if your opponent plays sloppy. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't know what else to say. Like, yeah, it targets, but who cares? This card is just amazing, and you can use multiple in a turn, and I don't know what else to say. I think everyone should have access to this card. It is on the more expensive side. However, I feel it's definitely a staple card that you should have, and it is better than Effect Veiler, which we will talk about, but I feel that this card is definitely worth its weight in gold and should definitely be a card that everyone has this format. You can use it against almost anything. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say it's better against one deck. It's good. You can hit anything. You can hit the Fiber, you can hit the Link Rush, you can hit anything, and it's just amazing. So I really like this card, and I think everyone should have access to it, this format, for sure. Now we're gonna get into the real, like, meat and potatoes, like hand traps. I gotta throw down, you guys already know, the homie DD Crow. Now you guys are thinking, Slim, you think DD Crow is more impactful than Impermanence? No, but I love the homie DD Crow, and the homie DD Crow has started to see a lot more play. If you looked at these side decks, People are playing this card again. You know why? It's good against Dino. Hit the Miscellaneous Source before they can trigger it. Hit anything in the graveyard. This card is one of the best interruption cards in the game. Not once per turn. One of the old school, like literally the OG hand trap. And this card just does so much. It was so good against Salad during those formats. It's just really good now still. Like hitting anything that needs to be in the graveyard. Good against Dino. You can use it against Inferno. You can use it against anything, honestly. I think this card is great. I don't know how good it is against rogue decks. Like for rogue decks, you could say Subterra. I mean, it's not really going to come up that much. But hey, I mean, I think this card is just good in general against pretty much all the decks of the format. It's not a bad card to have in your side deck because, again, anything that disrupts the graveyard isn't once per turn. It can hit any card. It's not just a monster. It can hit any card. It's fantastic in my opinion. So the homie DD Crow, I mean, if I don't shout out DD Crow, I mean, it's not a Slim video if I don't. Next, I'm going to talk about two hand traps together just for the fact that they're good. They're just not the best, and it's Ogre and Veiler. So these cards are still great. These are some of the OG hand traps as well. Veiler, Maxi, you guys remember Ghost Ogre was one of the next ones. Now you guys are probably wondering how effective are these cards. They're very good, don't get me wrong. They're not as good as some of the other ones on this list, but they are still very good for what they do. They are lights, so if you are playing a deck that needs lights, like Invoke Dogmatica or just Invoke Mech Knights or anything like that, it gives you a light. Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit also has the ability to be special from the deck by E-Teleport, which is crazy too. Veiler, not once per turn, so it's fantastic. It's one of those old school hand traps, again, where it's not once per turn. All these cards are good. They're also tuners, so they do have synergy there. I think Veiler is starting to see a lot more play, and that's why I waited to actually talk about this card, because I feel that I'm trying to do them in the importance of how often we see them. And I have seen some decks play these cards in the main deck. They are very strong. Ogre is fantastic. While it doesn't negate a monster effect, it does get the problem off the board, and I think that has to be emphasized. Anything that disrupts the opponent in that sense, even if it doesn't negate the effect, if it takes away the resource, if it takes away the body, that can go miles in a game. So I think both these cards are very good. If you don't have access to some of these more expensive hand traps, these are definitely the better way to go, in my personal opinion. Not only are they light, they're tuners, they have synergy. The Ogre has synergy with Teleport. They're just really good against everything in the format. It's a Joel and Lockbird format. Literally, Dragon Link. Slow him down. Infernoble Knight, slow him down. Any of the decks, just slow him down. If this card can end the opponent's turn, you get to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. I don't know what else to say. Whenever it's a Joel and Lockbird format, you need to have this card somewhere in your main deck or your side deck. It's one of my personal favorites, and even though we don't see as many people using it, like based on the last LCS, which is I'm basing a lot of this data, there was still a lot of it in the Swiss rounds. There was a lot of people still playing this card, a lot of people still valuing this card, and it's for good reason. This card can literally end the opponent's turn, and that cannot be matched by anything else in this game. This card is just amazing. It's so easy to trigger too, because everything searches, everything adds, so the minute they do something, you draw them, they don't have an answer, their turn pretty much ends. I think everyone should have access to this card. Like I say in all my deck profiles that I play it in, it's just really, really important. Then, of course, the most generic hand trap. It cannot be denied. The most generic hand trap. I mean, every deck should play it. I think that it's not so great in some decks. Like I didn't play it in my Mech Knight Invoke list just for the fact that a 1-for-1 exchange on a glorified going second deck is just not as impactful as like Joel and Lockbird or some of these other cards. But I think this is one of the best cards. This can also mess up dinos. It can mess up anything, honestly. Like, you want to have it in conjunction with another hand trap. So Ash is one of those ones that needs like has like a supporting role. This plus another hand trap can fully end the opponent's turn, and that's pretty much the goal of these hand traps. End the opponent's turn and capitalize on their mediocre plays and board. You know, you're gonna win. So Ash, one of the most generic. It hits so many cards in this game. There's no reason not to have this in your main deck or your side deck, depending on what you're playing. And last but not least, to wrap up the video, you guys already know what the last two hand traps are. It's the Rock and it's the Gamma Driver package. These are probably the best hand traps of the format. They are not as generic as Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom can definitely catch more cards, but these cards end opponents' turns. Not even end their turn better than Joel and Lockbird. Nibiru smashes the whole board. Gamma gets rid of the problem number one, and it negates the effect. This is like literally a solemn strike. It's crazy. I think these are just the best hand traps in the format, and it cannot be denied that you should definitely have access to them. They're good against pretty much everything. Maybe not that good against rogue trap decks, but hey, Gamma is still good. Nibiru is just something you can side out, but again, if your decks can support playing these cards in the main deck, by all means do it. If not, have them in your side deck. Decks will overcommit, decks will get punished for it, and these will be the reason why. And with that, that's pretty much all the best hand traps of the format. So I really hope you guys did enjoy. I love talking about hand traps. I feel like I could just talk about it for days, just how impactful they are. Ever since they first came out, Veiler, Maxi, DD Crow, all the originals, we've seen so many good hand traps in this format, and I think that if we continue to, study the format, we can see what works, what doesn't work. You guys will find the right counterbalance to what you can do to combat the format. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If I forgot any hand traps, I'm sure I did. I probably did miss some. Like, I didn't gather them all, but I'm sure I missed some that are important. I did mention Token Collector though, so we definitely got that. But I think these are easily the best hand traps in the format, and I think that if you build your side deck or your main deck accordingly, you can definitely implement these and get a lot of mileage out of them. And I think they'll be very important for this format and many formats to come. But that's all I gotta say, you guys. Smash that like button if you guys enjoyed. Comment anything down below. It really helps the algorithm, and I do appreciate it. And yeah, let me know what you guys think of hand traps in this format. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.